Hello everybody. Today we are going to discuss chapter number 5 from the Flamingo, the main book, Indigo. As you can see the chapter reflecting on the screen, and you can also see three monkeys sitting, with one covering mouth with hands, one covering eyes, and the third covering blocking the ears. I hope it is clear by now to all of you who do these monkeys belong to and what do the monkeys reflect. Yes, these are the monkeys said to be as the monkeys of Mahatma Gandhi, three monkeys of Bapu, three worth learning lessons of life these monkeys signify. So I'll explain you the chapter more promisingly. I hope you have successfully learned the previous chapter, the rat trap, and most importantly, the previous video was on the MCQs where I discussed some 40 MCQs about the chapter to give you a quick revision. So if you have still not watched that video on 40 MCQs, do it now. Do it today because that's surely going to help you a lot. Now, coming back to the chapter number 5, Indigo, we are definitely discussing about Mahatma Gandhi, a big name, an historical monumental name, a non-paralleled, non-perennial marvel of history, Mahatma Gandhi. You know what Albert Einstein said at the death of Mahatma Gandhi? Albert Einstein remarked that such a man of in flesh and blood would never come again on the face of this earth. This is what Albert Einstein said about Mahatma Gandhi. Now, you will often come across people who criticize Mahatma Gandhi. You would come across people who would try compare Mahatma Gandhi, who was a pacifist, to extremists like Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, and Rajguru. Obviously, their contribution to the independence of the country was undisputable, unquestionable, unchallenged. They sacrificed their lives to grant us independence and freedom. They put their lives on stake. But we must not criticize others who also had a great role to play, who also were the partners in laying the foundation of the freedom. Yes, the pacifists like Mahatma Gandhi. You must not remark about a person without knowing, without having a complete knowledge about the man. So first you study history, first you study the biography or autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi. First you study Louis Fisher's view about Mahatma Gandhi and then come to a conclusion. So it is not appropriate to say that on currency notes Mahatma Gandhi should images should not flash, rather it should be someone else who had a greater role to play in the independence movement of the country. Now this is but one episode given about Mahatma Gandhi's life, and I hope that will be sufficient enough to spur you to read all other things attached to Mahatma Gandhi. And I hope this chapter would be sufficient to get you love Mahatma Gandhi and to get you feel sorry if you had anything bad in your mind against him. So Mahatma Gandhi and Indigo, this chapter is basically about a time when severe prejudice prevailed in India against the planters, against the peasants. It was a British colonial rule and a great deal of severe, you may say, the economic system was biased and unequal. The big British planters would exploit the peasants, innocent, poor Indian peasants. They would compel them to, grow indigo. I'll detail it later on, but before that, let me flash myself all this of the screen. Yes, otherwise the video size goes too big with my picture on the screen. You understand, I hope, technically. So, the chapter is about the leadership shown by Mahatma Gandhi to secure justice for oppressed people through convincing argumentation and negotiation. But he still relented on not using force or violence. He still stayed glued and stuck to his principles of truth and non-violence. And with these two weapons, he won the fight, he won the battle in Champaran. Now, the title Indigo. Why is this title given Indigo? Why not Mahatma Gandhi? Yes, because it discusses an episode related to indigo. It discusses how Mahatma Gandhi liberated the peasants of Champaran from indigo sharecropping. Yes, indigo sharecropping, you know, the farmers in Champaran in Bihar, they were bound to grow indigo. Indigo, what is indigo first of all? Indigo is a blue color dye, powdered dye that was earlier used. Now we have synthetic indigo available in the market. And the powdered dye, blue color dye, was used to give a blue tinge to white clothes. And in so many other purposes, it was used. So Neil, it was called. But now we have synthetic indigo available like Ujala and all that we use. So we are talking about a time when sharecroppers they were bound to grow indigo on 15% part of their land holdings. The Britishers were the owners of the land and Indian peasants would work only as tenants on those lands. Not only that, they were crushed under the fear of Britishers. They were crushed under the borrowed money and the compounded interest on the money. So they were living a hellish life. They were living hand to mouth. They were severely exploited by the British planters, and all the customs, all the laws were made against the Indian peasants, and a severe prejudice prevailed against Indians. Yes, during the time of colonial British rule, and it resulted in Indian peasants suffering while the British planters exploited them. The chapter also highlights the importance of Gandhi's decision to take up their case, which exposed the unjust system. How did Gandhi come to know about this system in Champaran? And how did he get on to help the peasants of Champaran? And how did he finally relieve the peasants of Champaran from this unjustified system of devilish and hellish system of indigo sharecropping? I should first explain you about indigo sharecropping. As I told you, the peasants in Champaran they were bound to grow indigo on 15% part of their land holdings, out of which they had to surrender the entire harvest as rent. This was indigo sharecropping, right? So we'll learn more about it. So let us quickly start reading about the author, Louis Fisher. Louis Fisher was born in Philadelphia in 1896. He served as a volunteer in British Army between 1918 and 1920. Volunteer means the one who pays his services without any remuneration is a volunteer. Louis Fisher made a career as a journalist and he wrote for the New York Times, he wrote for the Saturday Review and for European and Asian publications as well. He was also a member of the faculty at Princeton University. The following is an excerpt from his book The Life of Mahatma Gandhi. He wrote a book which is very popular even today titled The Life of Mahatma Gandhi. Now, the book has been reviewed as one of the best books ever written on Gandhi by Times Educational Supplement. There are many books written on Mahatma Gandhi, including his autobiography, My Experiments with Truth. So, out of those many books written on this marvelous man, this book was reviewed as one of the best books ever written on Gandhi and written by Louis Fisher. He was a great disciple of the principles of Mahatma Gandhi. He was himself, being a British himself, he was a follower of Mahatma Gandhi, and being a Britisher, he wanted to serve the people of Champaran, the peasants of Champaran, for Mahatma Gandhi. But the question is, did Mahatma Gandhi allow a Britisher to help him, or did he not? So he'll find answers to all these questions, and he will fall in love with this man, Mahatma Gandhi, as soon as you complete the chapter. So these are some expressions used in the chapter. Urge the departure means, I'm sorry, urge the departure means to speed up the departure or to want, to long for the departure of somebody. Now, conflict of duties, I'll explain you later when it arrives. Harbor a man like me means to shelter a man like me. Seek a prop means to seek an aid or a help, right? So I'll explain all these again more reasonably as and when they strike up. When I first visited Gandhi, Louis Fisher is narrating it in the first hand. When I first visited Mahatma Gandhi in 1942 at his ashram in Sevagram in central India, he said, I'll tell you how it happened that I decided to urge the departure of the British. It was in 1917. And these were the words uttered by Mahatma Gandhi when Louis Fisher, before writing a book, you have to, the best way to write a book is, or especially a biography, is to meet the person, approach the person, and talk to him face to face. So, for the very reason, once he decided that he would write a book on Mahatma Gandhi. He decided to visit Mahatma Gandhi, and as Mahatma Gandhi was too much submissive and amiable, he gave him the consent. And when he visited Gandhi in 1942 to talk to him face to face in his ashram in Sevagram, so Gandhi said initially at the advent that I will tell you how we decided to urge the departure of British from India. And it was in 1917, Gandhi said. And then he started explaining him each and everything, what had happened, how it all started. Actually, he had gone to the December 1916 annual convention of the Indian National Congress Party in Lucknow. Convention is a kind of formal meeting, dear students. Actually, Gandhi had gone to the annual meeting to attend the annual meeting of Indian National Congress Party in Lucknow. And there were 2,301 delegates and many visitors who had come from around the world, around the country. Now, during the proceedings, when the meeting was in play, Gandhi recounted, means to recall, as he remembered what happened during the meeting. A peasant came up to him who was looking like any other peasant in India. What was the characters, characteristic traits of peasants in India that were common in every peasant? All were poor. Yes, there was a great deal of commonality in all the peasants of India. They were all poor and they were all emaciated. Emaciated means poor in build or size because they were all underfed. They were all the victims of malnutrition. They did not have enough to eat, so that they were all very, very lanky and gangly in their frame, you may say. And said, I am Rajkumar Shukla. During the meeting, during the meeting only, The person interrupted. Yes, and he there in the meeting hall went inside and declared that I am Rajkumar Shukla and I am from Champaran and I want you to come to my. He straight away approached Mahatma Gandhi during the proceedings of meeting only. He approached Mahatma Gandhi and declared that I am Rajkumar Shukla, I am from Champaran, and I want you to come to my district. Gandhi was at a loss. What the peasant was saying. Now, ironically, Gandhi had never even heard of the place Champaran. According to the map, then it was in the foothills of towering Himalayas near the kingdom of Nepal. But Gandhi was unaware of such a place in existence in India. He was not so popular then. Under an ancient arrangement, now the Champaran peasants were sharecroppers. Now this paragraph will explain you what sharecropping was. Right? Rajkumar Shukla was one of the sharecroppers. Sharecroppers means the small farmers or peasants, according to dictionary. But as the name is a compound word, the sharecroppers were the farmers, those who had to share their crops with the planters. So Rajkumar Shukla was one of the sharecroppers in Champaran, Bihar. He was literate. I am sorry, he was illiterate, but he was resolute. He was determined, even though he was illiterate, uneducated, but he was resolute, determined. What proves that he was determined? He had come to Congress session, this meeting. Why has he come now? He has come to complain about the injustice of the landlord system in Bihar. And why has he come to Mahatma Gandhi only? Who told him to go to Mahatma Gandhi? Because Mahatma Gandhi is not the first person he had gone to with the same plea and same request to help them get rid of this oppressive sharecropping system and injustice of landlord system in Bihar. He had gone to many people and some of them probably suggested him that Mahatma Gandhi is the only person who can help you out. That is why immediately he decided to approach Mahatma Gandhi, and during the proceedings of the meeting only, he approached Mahatma Gandhi and narrated the whole thing, saying that he wanted him to come to Bihar, Champaran, and he was there to complain about the injustice of the landlord system in Bihar. And somebody suggested him speak to Gandhi. Now Gandhi told Rajkumar Shukla that he was not free to accompany him to his district, and he had several other things to his commitment. That he had an appointment in Kanpur. Yes, it was Kanpur then. Um Now it is Kanpur. Then it was Cawnpore. He told him that he had to go to Kanpur and then he was also committed to go to other parts of India. So he had no time to accompany him. This is what Gandhi said. But Shukla, as we had read in the earlier lines, that he was resolute. He would not so easily give up on his cause. So Shukla accompanied Mahatma Gandhi everywhere. Then Gandhi returned to his ashram near Ahmedabad. Shukla followed him to his ashram also. And for weeks he did not leave Gandhi's side. He stayed glued to Mahatma Gandhi wherever he went, from everywhere to everywhere. And he begged Mahatma Gandhi finally, fix a date. I can wait, but please don't say no. We want you urgently, we want you desperately. This is already 19 minutes, dear students, so I'll have to mark it here and put a halt here. So this is about Mahatma Gandhi till here. You will come to know lot many more things about Mahatma Gandhi and his majestic lifestyle and how on the basis of with these two weapons of non-violence and truth, he became a cause, the biggest cause of trouble for the Britishers. He became a nightmare for the Britishers without using any weapon, lethal weapon, or physical force, or any violence. So how he majestically did it all, we'll learn it tomorrow. So this is all for today. Thank you and have a nice day. Keep learning. Stay home, stay secure.